So just to recap what we were talking about before we went for prayer, I think we shared PepsiCo's performance with purpose, and we talked about the 3 pillars of purpose that we have set out as an agenda for PepsiCo. We also talked about our targets to be improving by 20% across water and energy, and we have already delivered our targets and beyond that by delivering more than 40% on water conservation by 2013. So I think the fact about that is it is doable. You can go and you can work on water conservations, and it is something that every industry can look at and can do. Now the key question is, how did we do that? So in reality, there are a couple of ways of doing this. There is a technology route where you go and you not normally the easiest ways to be able to go and convince your business that I need to really invest heavily to be able to do water conservation. The other approach is a more balanced approach where we talk about a specific process. How can I get the people and the full organization to be supporting this event? And at the same time, we need to use technology. And the way we looked at it is we created a program that is focused on reduction on usage of our water. At the same time, it is going to be able to support where we should be. And a lot of time when we go into some of the plants, you will find that some of the people don't even know where they should be from a water consumption. They pay the bill at the end of the month, but nobody is trying to analyze the bill of the water. It is just a matter of money that is being paid at the end of the month, which should not be the case. And the third thing about it, it enables you to be where you could be. So how can I go and make changes to that water bill and reduce it so it helps you from a cost perspective, and it helps at the same time the water conservation journey that we're talking about. And the way we looked at it is we looked at the hierarchy of water, starting with avoiding water usage. And a pure example, we were just talking, Philip and myself outside, is people that use hoses to be able to clean or in front of their houses, and you find a couple of inch pipes that are being just thrown on the ground. Going to reducing water. So how can I do the same basically job, but having less water usage within that? The third one goes into a little bit more, I would say, a little bit more complex, which is reusing water. So I need to look at what can I go and treat to be able to bring back into my process and start using again. Last but not least, which is recycling water, and that is the part that becomes a little bit expensive. So we called our program RECON, which is resource conservation. That's like the abbreviation of that. And it concludes of 1, scorecarding. Second is a profiler, tells you where is your water going. Third is a diagnostic tool, talking about management systems and talking about technical sections. And that leads you to what we call a hot list in terms of action plans that you need to go and start working on. I'll take 1 minute on each of these just to further explain. So from a scorecarding perspective, frankly speaking, I'm a believer that anything that we do not measure, we cannot improve. So if we don't have a scorecard to give us what is our actuals and our trends, nobody is going to be looking at it, and therefore we will not be able to improve it. And therefore, this is why a scorecard is very, very essential for this process. Second process is a water profiler. And the water profiler is basically talking about what is the input that's coming into your plant, whatever that plant is doing. And basically, that's the easy part, because you always have the meters. Philip was talking about the meter coming into the house, and then you can understand what's happening. It's the same thing in the plant. You will know how much water is coming in. Question is, where is it going? And you have different aspects of where the water is going. It can go into your product. It can evaporate. It can go as waste. It can go as byproduct. But at the end of the day, is it going as per the design in terms of this is what should be going there or not? That is the key question. So again, the profiler will help you to understand the balance between the supply and demand, verify your demand, and at the same time, helps you to realize what are the opportunities that you have within your flow. The third part, which is the diagnostic, it has several sections. And I think one of the key sections we have found is the management piece. So if the management of that entity, whether it is an industry that is related to fleet or to fast-moving consumer goods or cement or whatever, if there is no management program that involves the executives within this entity to be sitting and discussing environment and sustainability, it doesn't move a lot, okay? So the other sections are more of technical sections talking about if you have water treatment, if you have steam generation, if you have whatever. So there are technical questions to understand where you are from that. Out of that diagnostics, you come up with what we call a hot list that is prioritized from an A to a D, and it goes from high difficulty and high returns to low difficulty and low returns, depending, and these are the 4 quadrants we are looking at. Then you come up with like 20 hot action lists after you do a full audit that is done through a team of people that goes into the plant and audit the plant for a couple of days. What we have basically done also, and these are some of the projects that we have done, and most of these projects have came up from the organization themselves. Because guess what? The best person to be able to tell you where water is going is the person that is using the water. And these are normally the people that are on our production lines or the people that are doing the actual work there. It's not the people sitting in the offices, okay? So the first one, somebody came up and saying, we use a lot of water on the conveyor systems to be able to move our cans or our glass. How can we do this without using water? And we ended up with having dry lubricants, okay? So we don't use water anymore in our plastic packs. Another example was, how can we recycle our bottle washer, basically that we're using in the bottle washers. All the glass that we are using in the market comes back to us, we wash it, so how can we reuse this water? And then we ended up with saving like 30% of that water, and so on. Just for the sake of time, I'm not going to go into all of the examples there. But the most imperative, I would say, that is important for us is we need everybody in the organization to be committed to be able to deliver on this. So you cannot do it without having awareness. So there is a journey of making all the organization be aware of what is the objective, what are you trying to do, and at the same time, you need to educate and continuously communicate. And I'm hearing a lot of questions about how can we communicate, how can we educate, what the media can play as a role in this, which is an important aspect as we are talking. This slide here, or part of the slide on the right, is very interesting because it gives you, if you have leaks of very small, 1/16 of an inch, and how much you are going to be losing on a yearly basis out of gallons, and the numbers are pretty scary. So although Tariq was talking about that agriculture consumes 85% of the water, but still you have between domestic and industry, there is another 15%. If there is something we can do about it, I think we should not be shying away from doing that, and we should be moving ahead on that piece. So building that culture of conservation is what is really critical for us to be able to move ahead with the journey of sustainability. So that is my part of environmental, specifically water. I think what we have seen in the earlier presentation was more about how big the issue is, what is the magnitude, what is it going to be affecting us, and when the time is. What we were trying to do is to focus on availing a tool. And tomorrow, actually, in the breakout sessions, Engineer Ahmed Khafagi will be available, and he will be taking whoever is interested in basically much more details of that tool. And we are more than willing to be able to work and cooperate with any of the companies that are available here. If they want to take this further, we'll be more than happy to cooperate with you and work with you to be able to make that happen for you as well, as we have done for ourselves. Now, the second part of the presentation is, it's not related to the water, food, and energy, but I thought it's part of our, as we said, our purpose agenda. And since there was a lot of fleet companies here, we have a big portion of our fleet as well. And our purpose agenda is talking about a safe environment. So I'd like to share with you what we have done for our fleet, which have helped us dramatically. And I'll start by having the Egypt Road Safety WHO report for 2010. And it's mind-boggling to know that 12,000 people, okay, are dying on a yearly basis because of accidents. And it's more interesting that 50% of these people are people that are driving four-wheel cars, okay? So it's not, pedestrians are part of that, but not the majority, but it's mainly accidents that is killing all of these people. The most interesting piece is we are not improving. In reality, when you look at it, we are actually getting worse. So we moved from like 15 deaths per 100,000 kilometers. Currently, we are ranging in the range of 23. What I understand from my colleagues is that probably by 2013, the new report coming out, we will cross the 25. Okay? So what have we done about that? And what we said is we wanted to build an integrated fleet safety program that is going to be able to help us to connect performance with the pay of our drivers or our CRs or whoever is driving the car. And to be able to do this, we needed to invest a little bit, but at the same time, we needed to make sure we are educating people and we are changing the culture. And the way we looked at it is inside the plant, if you want to change the safety and the culture of the people, you are in a safe environment because you are within the walls of your plant and you control that. But for our fleet, he comes in the morning for half an hour, he loads his truck, and then for the rest of the 8 hours, he's out there and he is within all the frustration of the traffic and whatever we are feeling and seeing these days. And therefore, it is very difficult for him to manage himself within being safe in the way that he's driving. So what we started doing is we said, first, we need to make sure that we are selecting the right people. So before we hire anybody, what we do is we have basically a driving simulator that we get the people in and we tell them, drive the car on a simulator and we assess their behaviors. That's before even hiring people. Once part of the people that are coming in, they pass, we go and we start giving them a defensive driving training. And in driving, there are a couple of ways of doing that. One is offensive driving, the other is defensive driving, which is anticipating what people around you can do in terms of their mistakes and trying to avoid it by being a defensive driver. Okay? And we have 1 day of training by basically a global company. It's not a local company, it's a global company that comes in and delivers this training for every individual person that is driving a car within the Pepsi system. Then what we did is we went and we installed, we call it the black box. It's like you know, the aeroplanes where you have a black box. So we went and installed what we call black boxes that monitors a lot of what is happening across when the driver is driving the car. So it monitors the speed, it monitors the acceleration, it monitors the harsh brakes, it monitors even the seat belt to understand what is this guy doing and is he compliant or not. But then we found that this was not enough because he can be driving at 70, but he could be swerving between lanes in a very careless manner, and that could pose a lot of safety hazard to the other people on the road. So we went and we did an unannounced road audit. So we went to a third-party company and said, all what we need you to do is, you know, on a random basis, see where Hussien is going and go after his route for a day and come back and tell us what is the behaviors that you have been seeing that this driver is doing across his day. Very interesting results came out of there. Then the other thing we said is, okay, but we have a huge population that is already out there, so let's put a hot number on our trucks. So if anybody sees a driver that's doing something that's not right, he can still call in and tell us what is his complaint, and then we can take that as well. Then what we said is 1 day of training across the 365 days is definitely not going to do a culture change. Within a time, as we said, he stays half an hour within the plant and the rest of the time he's outside there. So we created what we called behind-the-wheel coaching. So we took the best drivers that we have out of the behavior and the black box results, and we started getting them to be coaches. So all their job on a daily basis is to go every day out for the full 8 hours or 10 hours with the CR, monitor the behavior, give him coaching, and every driver will take 3 days of that behind-the-wheel coaching, of that coach sitting with him across every year. So that makes that we are now having like a 4 days of training, so it becomes a little bit better than having just 1 day. The other thing is we started a reward program where if your percentage of violation is being reduced, you get rewarded. If your violation is going the other way around, then you are going to get penalized. And therefore, people starting seeing that their good behaviors are being rewarded, and if they are not really using the coaching and all the trainings that we are giving and the education we are doing, then basically their income is also getting impacted negatively. And guess what? Nobody likes to see his, salary or commission being impacted negatively, and therefore we started having very good results as we go. And the last thing is that we are monitoring per driver all the KPIs, all the rewards, all the violations, and on a quarterly basis, we get the 5 best drivers and we start having a full meeting similar to this meeting, not across all the companies within PepsiCo, but across the region and the business units, and we start getting the drivers in and giving them the rewards, which basically have a very good impact from a recognition perspective. And just to tell you, when we did this, we delivered 80% improvement on the road violations and 60% on the driving violations, which we didn't think we can achieve such numbers, but we are already doing this. And this is not like in 10 years. This is in exactly the past 2 to 3 years. So again, things are very much doable, but we just need to make sure that we are putting the right focus and the right agenda behind it. Again, tomorrow, there is a breakout session where basically Nabil Abdelhamid is going to be, which is the head of the health and safety agenda for us in Egypt. He's going to be available to be able to share more details about this program. If anybody is interested in it, we'll be more than happy to cooperate and to share and to help anybody that needs help. I think with that, that is the end of my presentation. If anybody have any questions. Okay, thank you.